This is my audience at Hebrew Baptist Church for my persuasive speech. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic that I'm going to talk to you about tonight wasn't one that I was particularly interested in until about a month ago when I read an article in the New York Times Magazine that had some pretty interesting statistics in it. Some of them I've written up here on the board. So take a minute and just look at them and think to yourselves, what could those numbers possibly represent? Well, $10.8 billion is the amount of money that CBS has just paid to Turner Broadcasting for the rights to televise the NCAA March Madness basketball tournament over the next 14 years. $6 billion is the amount of money that colleges earn per year off of their college basketball teams. $1.1 billion is the 2010 profit made by the 68 collegiate football teams in the top 6 conferences. $770 million is the amount of money that the NCAA gets every year off of the March Madness tournament. $500 million is what ESPN has just paid to the BCS to televise the major bowl games over the next 4 years. 19,377 are the number of collegiate basketball and football players, and 0 is the amount of bills that they're paid. Now, I love college football and I watch a lot of it. And after reading this article, I was very angry at the disparity between what other people are being paid off the unpaid services of these athletes. So I read some more articles and looked at some more figures, and the more I read, the worse it got. And the reason I want you to listen to me tonight is because any system that allows this type of money to be paid to other individuals or companies off the unpaid labor of others isn't fair. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start paying college football and basketball players. Now, first we're going to look at some of the reasons why we should pay them. Second, we're going to look at some of the solutions to this problem. After that, we'll take a look at what we have to gain from paying them. And finally, we'll talk about what you can do to help. So first, let's talk about why we need to pay college athletes. First, you're thinking, well, they get athletic scholarships. And yeah, they do, but they're not enough. A recent Wall Street Journal article quoted some statistics from the National College Players Association, which shows that the gap between an athletic scholarship and the actual cost of going through college is $222 a year. Now, a lot of these players come from poor families. They don't have enough money to pay for clothes, supplies, laptops, and other expenses that come along during the school year. Additionally, the scholarship is only being paid while they're in their eligibility period or while they're actually playing. Most of these scholarships aren't 4-year, they're year to year. And if the player is injured or the coach determines that he's not playing up to his ability, the scholarship goes away. Now, many of these players are going to exhaust their eligibility period before they earn a degree and they wind up leaving college. Let's be honest, a lot of them don't have the skills that they need to get to college to begin with. And the work they have to do to maintain their athletic scholarship cuts out on the amount of time that they have to spend in class. And the overwhelming number of these athletes are not going to go to the pros. Out of the 5,500 university basketball college players in Division I, in 2010, only 50 of them went in the NBA draft. Second, athletes aren't compensated for the use of their name or their likeness. Both the NCAA and the schools sell jerseys, autographed merchandise, magazines with articles and pictures in it, and these players don't see a dime of that money. And finally, every year there are more and more NCAA investigations and disciplinary actions resulting from athletes taking goods, money, and services from outside sources, whether they're college boosters, fans, or anything else that offers the money. Two of the most recent ones involve the University of Miami in Florida and Ohio State. Now, most of these indiscretions are relatively small amounts of money. As noted by the Wall Street Journal article that I cited earlier, at the Miami incident, the quarterback was only in trouble over $140 in meals and cover charges that he took in. And with the Ohio State scandal, where the players were exchanging college memorabilia for tattoos, most of this memorabilia was worth less than $100. So what can we do to remedy these problems? Well, number one, make these athletic scholarships true athletic scholarships. Require them to be for a minimum of 6 years. That way, if the student, it gives the student enough time to leave with a degree. Or if he actually does obtain a degree in 4 years, he can go on and do graduate level work under a scholarship. And then any compensation paid to the athlete above the athletic scholarship cuts the gap that we talked about earlier. Number 2, pay them for the use of their likenesses. That seems like a no-brainer. The New York Times Magazine article that I read recommended the use of a college players association, which would do several things with players, one of which would handle licensing deals with jerseys, memorabilia, and other things. And finally, we've got to pay these kids some amount over the scholarship and the licensing fees, because this will cut back on the incentive to accept the money from the outside sources. And what will we see with these policies in place? Well, number 1, we're going to see them graduate from college with meaningful degrees, which we would all like to think that that's why they're there to begin with. Number 2, we're going to see them get paid for the use of their face and their name. If P&G wanted to use me to advertise wrinkle cream, they'd have to get my permission and they'd have to pay me. Same should apply to them. And we're also going to see less winning seasons wind up in the rubbish heap because there's been a scandal where a player has received money from an outside source. So now I hope that after you've heard about the disparity in what is being made off of these college athletes and what they receive in return, you feel moved to either look into it a little bit more yourself, form your own opinion, or voice your opinion as to the need to make sure that these players get paid. What can you do? Well, the NCAA ultimately has the final say as to whether college athletes can be paid. It's not the individual schools. Mark Emmert, the current president, has shown a willingness to talk about this issue, along with others, in an effort to kind of rehabilitate the NCAA's reputation. I would urge you to take time to let Mr. Emmert know what you think of this. You can write to him at 700 West Washington Street, P.O. Box 6222, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46206. Now, as Jonas Sterno said in the New York Times article, the only way that major sports schools can achieve any integrity is to end the hypocrisy and recognize that college football and basketball are a big business. And Michael Wilbon from ESPN has weighed in as well and said that players have become employees of both the universities and the conferences, employees with no compensation, which not only violates common decency, but the law as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this totals up to roughly $18.3 billion, of which 19,377 collegiate athletes received nothing. We've watched them play, and now it's time to watch them be paid. Thank you.